Yo, what's up, guys? A different type of stream today. Uh, I'm officially going to go through the feedback. As I mentioned in a video that I dropped last night, along with the Upshift media announcement. What's up, Stumpy? I take feedback at the end of every NRL season, and this time I'm going to do it live. Uh, I've not looked at these before. In fact, the form is still open for the next couple seconds, but I'm going to shut it down very shortly here. Um, well, I'll try to keep it short. I'll try to keep it short. I have no idea what people wrote, but I'm gonna react to it in real time. And we'll see how it goes. So let me uh pull this up here. The first thing though that I want to look at is, or I want to show, is some of the things that I already have planned here. Okay, so this is the website. You can pull up a whole bunch of things, right? You can go to the season overview, and then look at the details for any of these rounds, right? And see how people did, right? But one of the things that we added, if you see up here, there's a theme mode, and right now it's on its normal dark mode, but you can change it to light mode now. So if you prefer, a white background and brighter colors, you can do that as well. Or you can just keep it as is the normal. You have the ability to go in and see stats for a driver. But we added a couple things here, or I added a couple things here, right? You can get a glimpse of career stats right from the bat, how each season went, season splits, recent form, which is how they've performed in recent events, the 5 most recent events, and then you still get your entire race history down here. And if you click on any one of these things, right, so 6 fastest laps that Jorge got, right, if you click that, it'll break down exactly where yeah, no problem. It'll break down where those fastest laps occurred. So you'll be able to see at a glance that he got 4 of them in season 5, 2 of them in season 7. And then also you have team context here. So you can view team stats very much in the same way, right? How many starts across the entire team, the roster history, season summary, and it's broken up like that. So you can see this for any of the NRL seasons, any of the NRL rounds. And then another thing that we're doing, and I'm still in the process of getting this set up, so I'm just going to go all the way back to season 1, for example. You can always pull up all of the previous seasons and see what we did in those seasons. And I'm just going to pull up round 1 here because it was at Suzuka. Okay. We added a little bit more information. So you get the track map, all of the settings, all the important settings up front. You still have the results underneath, and then the standings for that season when you look back. But also you can see the full lobby settings. So if you ever want to go back and rebuild that lobby, you can come in here and see the exact settings that were used to create that lobby. So you'll have your compounds and all that kind of stuff, right? So this isn't up to date for every round and every season, but probably by the end of the week it will be. And also this is part of the light and dark mode. So like if you want to go to light mode and see all this stuff, like it's there. So those are a couple changes that I'm making to the website. Some that I don't have a working demo for right now, but the functionality is there, is the ability to pay for someone else's entry. That this was a thing. Clean finishes means a round where they weren't disqualified. So if you started the race and finished the race, it's a clean finish. Most people have 100% clean finish rate. So that's in there. And then the ability to pay for other people's seasons. We had the season sign up wizard already implemented for this past season. Uh, it's very much the same, except when you get to the payment step, now you can indicate whether or not you are paying for it at that moment or if someone else is paying for you. And if someone else is paying for you, it'll create a unique link that you can send to the person who wants to cover your entry fee. And then it will, you know, they'll go to the link, they'll just input a name and an email address, and then they'll do the payment. And then as soon as they do their payment, the person who was at that payment step in the sign up wizard will be able to move on and then finally submit their uh application. So other than that, there are a couple other tweaks that I made in here just in case the feedback aligns with some of the other plan changes that I am putting up in the air. But let's just go into the feedback form. How do I do this? How do I stop accepting responses? Okay. Okay. All right. So we'll just go through in the summary. And then if there's anything that really stands out, we'll dive into it a little bit deeper. So most of the people who responded were drivers, right? And there was an equal amount of Division B drivers as Division A drivers that chose to respond. There were some people who didn't. There's one person who didn't qualify. Sup. Hold on one sec. Sorry, guys. Just gotta take a look at something quick. Uh, Okay. Let's see here. One person who didn't qualify, a couple of people who weren't drivers, right? So the average what's the word that I'm satisfaction with season 7 was a 4.20, which is pretty cool. Never perfect, but trying to get close. One person was dissatisfied. I'm if I had to guess, I would imagine the person who did not qualify for the racing rounds was not satisfied with the season, which would kind of make sense. So what did NRL do well this season? Very organized, professional, everything exceeded. Okay, so Roland just outed himself. A car without a VR cockpit. Yep, that did happen in one race. But yeah, that was an oversight. So I mean, totally makes sense. Uh, Great combos. Most of them had alternate strategies. Broadcasts were extended. Races were action packed. Fourth race was a good idea. I don't know exactly what the fourth race was for this person because again, I don't know who this was. But I'll take a look and see. Well, actually, we can take a look and see what of the fourth races it might have been. Right, round 4. There's the Blue Moon Bay race. There's the Trial Mountain race. There's yeah, maybe. Well, I mean, adding a fifth, right? Because there are 4 races and then a final. Oh, okay. Oh, adding the fourth. Oh, yeah. See, this is why I should do it live because I would have otherwise missed. I would have misread it and misinterpreted it. But yeah, okay. So fourth race was a good idea. Good. Okay, everything was always top notch, very good, uh, diverse. Ba 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 ba. Okay. Oh, yeah, no, but you're right. Let's see. As usual, ideas get better and better. Slow mo and location at Hankey's was great. Yes, that was a good one. Shout out to Slow mo, and shout out to Hankey's for being, our longest running sponsor. The team over there, they it's incredible how much support we've gotten from them, and I'm looking forward to continuing that partnership for as long as they're willing. Um, as a driver, it makes you feel like you're a part of something bigger. Yeah. Uh, yeah. Um, Production was great. Broadcast was well produced. Shocked that some of the things that were included in the broadcast graphics were nice and clean as well. Shout out to Croatian, because that was not me. Um, that has the artistic touch. Production value is and the combos were excellent, awesome. Combos were and settings were balanced very well. All right, sweet. Um, okay, things that should improve for season 8. Friday broadcasts were a little lacking, especially compared to the Saturday team. So by this, I assume that it's talking about the commentary, right? Because production wise and cameras wise, it's still me. So I guess that's that. I have to imagine that there will be a little bit more elaboration on that point. Uh, yes. Less emphasis on fuel saving, high tire wear, saving combos, more wheel to wheel racing. Um, okay, so this particular person doesn't like races that fuel saving and tire saving are as much of a problem. Longer races for Division A, at least. You think races should last between 45 minutes and 1 hour long? Yeah, I mean, I would love for the races to last longer across the board, but the problem is that we have broadcasts that tend to run longer the longer the races are, and there's some real fatigue on the part of the staff, not just me, but like everyone involved behind the scenes. So while I could imagine extending it from roughly half an hour to maybe like 35 minutes or 40 minutes, I think an hour long every round would fatigue the staff behind the scenes. But like, point well made. Or point acknowledged about the races being longer. um this person is not sure what the biggest thing to improve would be. Love to see video of commentators before race coverage and post race interviews. So you want to see the commentators on camera. More sprint races with less emphasis on strategy. Okay, so it seems like this person, right, with the sprint race and the fuel saving, uh, they're uh, they're of this they're of the mindset that they want, just like, okay, nix the strategy, just who's the fastest on track, at least sometimes. And I could understand having a race or two like that, but I NRL certainly isn't a series that would. It's not really a series that would benefit from everything being like, okay, 20 laps, who's the fastest on 20 laps. Stewarding needs to be addressed. Hopefully this person can elaborate on that a little bit in future uh, responses. This is the only thing. Like to see a slower division for us slower drivers, please. I tried so hard. Yes, I know. Um, we got to make that happen, right? And in order for there to be a third division, we'd have to have even more sign up, right? To create some kind of stakes. And then we have to figure out, is that going to be, a paid entry? Is there going to be a payout? And then if there is a payout, does it make sense does it make sense to you know, pay them as much as some of the other divisions, right? Because, you know, being in Division A, right, that's the most difficult to win, and then Division B is, you know, a little less difficult. When you're talking about like raw pace. So, you know, we kind of really have to navigate that and make sure that like we're not making it, you know, unbalanced, right? Um, let's see. Slightly longer races, so point herd, scoring system, and race start time. Well, race start time, that's going to be tough to change because, you know, it's largely based around my own availability, right? For one, and also, you know, incorporating other time zones. So, you know, the UK, the Saturday races being there, the UK, EMEA, and, you know, all those folks who have joined the league in the past, you know, doing an 8:30 p.m. start on a Saturday night, you know, kind of isolates that. Um, One critique of season 7, many, if not all, of the races had a slow refueling rate. Um, okay. Uh, Many of the races had 1 liter per second or 3 liters per second. Drivers can be more concerned about the fuel than pushing to race. Other drivers often feel driving very passively in their interest of saving fuel. So the point of this one is that the fuel rate is too low for people to push all the way. And I'll say, you know, the reason why the fuel rate was at a particular level was to, I'm pretty sure in all those races, the thought behind it was to just uh penalize a driver who wasn't able to fuel save. Um, and I would say that even in a lot of those races, I don't think that like it really made the viewing spectacle that much worse. I mean, that's just my you know, that's my take on it. I don't know that it made everything passive. Um, I think there was still plenty of battling in all the rounds, but you know, I can go back and look at that. Um, yeah, so faster you feel rate, and then also there's the fact that like calculating the strategy, like in order to make up for a particular difference on a compound and pushing all out, you manipulate the refuel speed such that strategies become more equal, right? That's a tool to manipulate it. um Adding more splits when demand supports this. Well, I mean, again, it's having more splits. If you mean like more splits within a division or adding another division, it's it's tough to be able to support that, just because it requires a lot more work behind the scenes. Even if we did what we did in season 3, where there were 2 division A splits and then a division B split, like we could do it. But then if we're adding on top of this the fact that a race is, you know, 45 minutes long, like some of the other suggestions, then production, that the production becomes incredibly long. um let's see. Instead of having a random weather spot, use a gradient. For example, instead of using S01 random R308, just change random ones to something cloudy. Twice I spun out when clouds appeared on my screen and got shaded darker, and I wreck. Suspect instantaneous temperature drop. Uh, Spun out exiting turn 1 at Red Bull Ring. Your screen went darker with light throttle, and your rear tires went bye bye. Red Bull ring? That's interesting. Okay, so I remember this race. Yeah, that's really odd. I mean, we definitely have to we'd have to kind of work that out. Maybe another solution to the screenshot process. Well, I'll be curious to see what the solution suggested is. All right, this will be a long one, but here we go. Uh, Stop making all races a fuel saving battle or tire saving. I don't know that every race was that. But I can see that it's causing frustration with some people. Racing super hard and good when you don't have to worry about being gapped by a person with elite tire saving skills. Well, okay. And yes, I do understand you could say skill issue, but honestly, I had so much fun during the rally races and whatnot with no tire wear or fuel. Just make it so that it's not literally everything about the race. Mm, it wasn't that long. It was a perfectly acceptable length of a response. Um, Again, like I think that okay, could we make fewer? Can we make fewer races about fuel saving? Sure. I don't know that every single race was like. I don't know. I'd have to go back and look. Like, not every race was about fuel saving, but I think it's just more frustration about fuel saving in general, right? I think some people just don't want to do that, right? Some people don't want to tire save. And I know that like so I'm thinking about like Grand Valley Highway, this race over here, right? What was it? Round 3? Um Grand Valley Highway is the Division B Round 3 race, right? It was the one that was at the end of the Upshift Media trailer. By the way, go if you haven't checked out Upshift Media, you got to go check that out. Get subscribed. Myself, Salamander, TK, Slow Mo, Tati, and Papa, came together, put together a production company. We're running the VIP series coming up in a couple weeks. Go check out that. Because we're putting all the best minds together. Yeah, I mean, listen. So this race, Grand Valley Highway, to get back to my point, it was a tire saving and a fuel saving race, and I think that this particular race, this Division B race, was probably the best race of the calendar. I think from start to finish, right? And yeah, there are tire wear issues for people, right? This race had a high refuel rate. I'm pretty sure if I remember correctly, right? The people who won this race, right, were able to fuel save on medium tires, right? Tire save and fuel save on medium tires, right? And yeah, you could make the case that you're underdriving, of course, right? Because you're trying to save tires, you're trying to save fuel. But this race was the best race, right? So, I think that's it's like give and take, right? But that one was one that was, both. Okay, a longer season, people want even longer. That's going to be tough to meet. Better scheduling as to avoid long breaks or go all 2-week breaks. I wish I could do better about the scheduling. The scheduling is kind of like I have conflicting priorities, right? I have NRL, right? As an individual, like I've signed up to help out with the GT SC, the IRO series, right? And then I've also contracted myself, right, to help with the the S7R Red Bull Extravaganza. Definitely go check that out too. That's a pretty cool race that runs on Saturday nights in the summer as well. And then through Upshift Media, like we're already partnered with VIP's championship, right? So it's, and then there's also like my personal life, right? So like if my family says like, hey, we want to do something like this weekend, right? Like if my if my wife is like, okay, let's bring the kids somewhere, well, I'm bringing the kids somewhere. Unfortunately, that's just kind of how it is, right? I can't stop certain things from happening. I can only just try my best to work around it. So, with that being said, we're not gonna have super long breaks for season 8. I'm pretty much set on that schedule. Not ready to release it yet, but I know exactly when all the rounds are gonna be. Um, but I just gotta check with a couple uh things of availability. Remove the point system. Remove the bonus points for pre-quali for top 20 drivers. All the drivers in Division A get points, which some might negates even having it. In your opinion, top 3 or top 5 in each split should get bonus points. Okay, let me respond to this one first. I I disagree with this kind of statement, just in general, because like top 20 drivers is a static number. The way that it currently works is that the top third of all drivers on that day get 5 points. The second third of all drivers get 3 points, right? So there's some distinction here, right? In that if we have 3 divisions, right? Obviously, everyone in Division A would get 5 points. Everyone in Division B would get 3 points, and then everyone in Division C theoretically would get no points, right? But we only have 2 divisions, right? So it's broken up pretty much like the top 2/3 of Division A get 5 points, and then the bottom third get 3 points. And then looking at Division B, the top over there get 3 points, and then the bottom over there get 0 points, right? Could it be tweaked? Yes. But there is something to say about getting the best result in your division versus the worst result. Um so let's see. Adopt a scoring system that is not as heavily rated to the winners. Yeah, I actually had a question about this. So this actually came up. So this person probably would have seen person would have probably seen a question later on in the survey about the the point system and ideas to tweak it. And I'll just say that bringing the point totals closer together makes sense. However, I can't, in good conscience, say that first place would only get something like 15 points. I think first place still has to get 25 points, and the reason why is because of legacy. So we had 2 drivers in Sheldologist and Jorge Senior that got over 100 points this season, right? And that's a record and it's a talking point and it's a thing like that. But then if we all of a sudden decide, okay, well, we're gonna nuke points, right? Then no one will ever be able to challenge that, even if they have a perfect season. So I think a solution where keeping the winning amount of points at 25 and then raising the floor for everyone else is a better solution, in my opinion. Let's check some of these things here. Let me go through chat a couple of things here. Sal says, keep in mind drivers want things easy, viewers want drama. This is driver feedback, so not a surprise. Yeah, I mean, there's a delicate balance. Number two, I feel a bad race, missed race in this current format isn't a penalty. You just need to finish good somewhere. Yeah, I mean, it currently it's very it's if you win a race, you're pretty much good, right? Even if you miss a round. But also, if you don't win a race, you're like in a situation where you're driving like desperately. So I think we have to like find like a middle ground with the point system to bring everyone closer together, but not make it such that winning doesn't even matter. Um, Drivers don't want things easy. Drivers want to be able to push and race. Hard to do when you have to worry about fuel all the time. Better to just chill and make up time in the pits. Well, uh, there's like there's competing extremes here, right? You know, you can say that yeah, you wouldn't push in that race, but again, I don't think every race has to be the same way. Um, right. So like uh as much as a penalty. I okay. Should NRL add a Division C? So 50% said yes, 10% said no, maybe over here, and I'm not sure. So it seems like we're kind of half of us are like, yeah, go ahead and do it. I think personally, just looking at it, I was like, if turnouts are high, then yes, okay, we'll probably have to do it. If NRL adds a Division C, what format would you prefer? Own separate settings. Jeez, man, you guys are killing me, bro. And then Division C copies Division B race settings. All right. Um, some of you don't support adding a Division C, so it's kind of a controversial thing. It seems like, but there's absolutely no way I can do this. Like, I'm just like thinking. I'm thinking to myself, like, yeah, everyone wants it, but like, we look at this, right? So this is like 1, 2, 3. So there's 4 rounds, 4 different races, right? So that's 16, 17 and 18 for the final, and then 19 for the pre-qualifier, which everyone does, right? So in a current season, I had to come up with 19 combos. If there's a Division C with additional combos on top of that, that turns into 23. I don't know that I can do 23. Um, yeah. So what was the added track limit penalties at Yas Marina? Even though the game didn't penalize drivers, the track limit pens were added. Was this discussed beforehand in the drivers' meetings or something? Yeah, we always have driver meetings before every round where we talk about all things related to that round. So that always happens a day before race time. So yeah. You remember how boring F1 was in the early 1.6 turbo era where people had to fuel save, they couldn't rev out their cars. The race was much more about fuel saving than racing. All right, point heard. We'll see how strategy may or may not change in season 8. If Division C is added, how should payouts work? Division C should be mostly developmental with reduced or no payout. Okay. So I guess, from this perspective, right? Like, I'm looking at this, I'm like, even though like 45% want own separate settings, I can't do it. But if there's no payout or reduced payout, then we have to like look into, well, should they pay for their entry, right? Are you paying for the league organization and the professionalism that was mentioned earlier above? So that's kind of what we have to think about. It's funny that you mentioned the Daytona Tri-Oval. I think that was a pain point for some of the Division B drivers, the Tri-Oval races. It wasn't a fan favorite for some. What was that, 2 seasons ago? Okay, what other concerns would you have about adding a Division C? Not enough drivers, too much work for staff. Yes, that's probably the most The broadcast production capacity. I think we can make the production work, right? Like I mentioned, we have Upshift Media Studios now, right? So we can always bulk that up to a certain point. Um, Stewarding capacity is an issue. Prize pool gets spread too thin. Skill gap too wide. Race quality concerns. Scheduling issues. Just seems like a lot. Oh, there are some others here. It just seems like a lot more work, but obviously it's the league's decision, right? So it is a lot of work. Maybe you can earn points and bump people out of Division B. So promotion and relegation, right? So in the season 6 feedback form, I think that was, we did promotion and relegation as a question, and overwhelmingly everyone was like, no, don't do that. Don't do promotion, don't do relegation. So I was like, all right, I'm not even gonna ask this time, because I think like in order to have promotion and relegation, we have to have Division C first. Otherwise, we're just talking about, you know, Division A, Division B changing all the time. A solution for Division C could be to make it a one manufacturer cup series, help lessen your workload and make it fully developmental. Well, I mean, I think that's the thing, like negative, right? Like if we did that, then there's other leagues, right? That do that, right? So like, I don't know. Like as much as I want everyone in the world to join NRL, like, I mean, there's got to be other options somewhere, right, for that kind of stuff. You mentioned copy previous seasons A or B races, just the carbon copy. All that work is already done. Yeah, I mean, we could do that. Yeah. There wouldn't be any whatchamacallit, any suspense, right? Like, because you know how like at the end of broadcasts, right, that's when everyone finds out what the next round is going to be, right? Like that's kind of an NRL staple, right, where there's like a reveal at the end that, you know, everyone gets to see and be like, oh crap, this sucks, and then, you know, just trudge through it anyway, right, as a driver. So that would go along with that, but you know, I'm kind of on the same mindset here. Division B, Division C have the same combos as Division B. Honestly, when I first like thought of it, I was like, yeah, I'll probably just copy Division B to Division C. But you know, I don't know. So anyway, here are the thoughts on that. Right, entertaining a cool outlet to compare to other divisions. They run the same track combo. Entertainment division rather than full series racing, I guess. Think it's as good. So third division would kill the thrill of pre-quali session because the risk of not making it would be low. Sure. Yeah. Quite a few didn't make the cut, and some were longtime supporters. Maybe the C option is offered for one day. Okay, so here's the thing about this. Okay, like I realized that there were some previous participants in the NRL that did not make this season, and this is not the only season that this happened, right? You know, there in previous seasons there were participants that were supportive of the series that didn't make it. Happens every season, right? And I think that I don't know that I can just say, okay, we'll do a Division C because we want driver X here, right? At a certain point, like, you know, we'd be messing around with like favoritism, right? So like what I tried to do with this qualifying, right, pre-qualifying round was I set the fuel low to start the race with. So you could reasonably get your best lap on your first lap this time around, right? The fuel rate was, you know, whatever it was, right? But the fuel started low, and then you had 20 minutes to find a gap and set one good lap, right? But yeah, I kind of like, I think with pre-qualifying, there definitely is the intrigue and the drama of not making the cut, which is tough to deal with as a driver, right? Because if you don't make the cut, then you know it sucks, right? But also as a viewer, like if you make the cut, you know it's that I don't know. It's a delicate balance between like, you know, participants and viewers, right? Because a lot of what the participants receive in terms of like monetary prizes come from the viewership. You know what I mean? Like if this was like a free series where like we weren't fundraising or we weren't doing any sponsorships and whatnot, like yeah, make it so that everyone can race. But like I think that part of, you know, a lot of the pot, right? I wish I had that sheet up. I'll have to bring it up. But like the sponsors gave a significant chunk of money, right? And then there's another chunk of money that came in from everyone's sign up fees. But then like that last third of the entire prize pool came from viewers, right? Came from people watching and doing super chats and things like that. So like it's a delicate balance. It's a delicate balance. But yeah, let's see. Don't expand too much too early. You got a good product here. Let it run its course for a few more seasons. Test the waters, watered down Division C race. Only concern is Division C would go after whichever combo C mimics. So like if we did a Division C, I think we would do something like where it streams simultaneously somewhere, or it's at least recorded, and the race happens at the same time as Division B, just in a different lobby. And then it would air somewhere, right? Either on my channel, maybe Upshift's channel, maybe something like that. But we wouldn't ever do it where we're waiting for two other races to complete before doing Division C. You know what I mean? Like we would get it out of the way, you know, relatively early. And you know, to this point about during the week, doing it during the week, it you know, it wouldn't be airing. It wouldn't be me behind the scenes because there's just a lot of moving parts. Like we might air it on during the week, but I don't know that we can do everything live, right? I still have to like figure out like, you know, what that'll entail. Ultimately it's yourself and your road crew, blah 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 blah. Yep. Yeah. Okay. Frankly, the product isn't just big enough for Division C yet. I think. Well, I'm trying to see like, okay, how many people did we have sign up? I don't know. So like we had 56 one, so 56 drivers, right? And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So 56 plus 9. So that's 65, right? So we didn't have enough to field an entire Division C, even for one day. So like, you know, we would really have to, you know, I don't know. We'd have to do some heavy advertising. Oh yeah, this is not the only time I'm going to read through them. Of course, I have to. I'd have to. I also have to correlate like certain responses to certain other people. So like you can read it just on question view, but like you can also read what one person had said about every answer and kind of generally get where their head is at with a bunch of things and understand their rationale for voting for a particular thing, right? So I had to go through one response at a time and then just be like, okay, this is legit, this is not legit, right? Because some people like I don't want to like make it seem like anybody who filled this out, you know, was just trolling or anything, right? But like, you know, some things are born out of like emotion more than, you know, structured analysis. Wouldn't say it's aggressive. Sorry, I forgot what I was talking about when I said aggressive. It's talk and has been talk for a couple seasons. Some intimidated, yeah. Yeah, I think so. Yeah. So okay. So there's a bunch of responses here. A lot of thought, a lot of you know, some people think it's popular enough, some people don't, right? So like you kind of have to like weigh all of that. But I gotta keep it moving, right? Like I don't wanna have like a 5 hour stream just going through these results, but like, okay, let's look at some basic questions. Do you think the distribution is fair? Uh if this was like a 5 star thing, so most people thought it was fair. That's cool. Some people thought it was like almost fair, but nobody hated it, so that's good. Um, a big one here: should McNaughty, as league organizer, receive a cut of season funds in season 8 and beyond? So 70% say yes, 20% say maybe. So I'm reading that as 90% are okay with it as long as I'm not, taking all of it and running to Jamaica, which is cool. um, and then 2 people were like, no. Um, so like he shouldn't receive anything, right? Is one person. Just ad revenue should be as one person. Uh, 1 to 5% was fairly popular. 5 to 10% was popular. 10 to 15%. Some people thought more. Some people weren't sure. I don't. One person thought exactly 5%. 5%, but it really depends on how involved McNaughty is. If he's earning it back with YouTube views, then nah. Sky Sports doesn't get a cut from F1 for broadcasting, do they? I actually don't know. As I type this, I just Googled it now, and and they do not. Okay. Sky Sports pays F1 to broadcast their sport, right? So Sky Sports pays F1, the entity, right, owned by Liberty Media, for licensing rights, the ability to broadcast the sport. And then to make that money back, right? This is probably true of like most, if not all, sports, right? You pay a licensing fee to have that air on your channel, and then you make up the money in advertisements. So you go to commercial break, you charge for the ads, right? That's why Super Bowl ads cost like $1 million, right? That money goes directly to the network, and the network had paid the NFL, for example, money beforehand to have the rights to the Super Bowl every 4 years, right? And then, in general for like other events and whatnot, right? So this is kind of different in that the league airs on my YouTube channel, so I'm the network, right? And then the league is my product, so I'm the NFL and I'm the TV network. So it's really, I don't know, like, what makes sense. But right now, right, I collect the money from everyone, and then every cent that these NRL broadcasts make go to the staff behind the scenes. And it really, to that point of, how involved McNaughty is, I'll just keep it short. I'm very involved. There isn't a single thing in NRL that I'm not involved with, except things by design, which is only the initial stewarding process, right? So a ticket comes in, right? And the stewards look at that independently of me. The only thing I do with that is when they come to a result, I just take the result and I paste it into the stewarding decisions channel, right? But everything else, I'm involved with it. Some people don't necessarily know, but there are videos. If you're a member, you can check those videos out, right? The broadcast is me in this chair where I am now, pressing a whole ton of buttons, right? The camera moving in the lobby is also me pressing a whole ton of buttons. So every NRL broadcast that happens, I am there. Some people may not know that, but yes, I'm very involved. 5% is a solid. I mean, like, based on this, it seems like that. So like, I'm trying to think like, all right, so if we did, I'm just like looking to see like what would that be, right? So $1,700 is almost what we did this season. So a 5% cut, $1,700 would be $85 for running the league. So like that's kind of like what a realistic threshold would be. Um, just for context, and also like I'll look back at this chat to see what people were saying. So like if I missed your comment now, just rest assured that like I will look back at this and I'll see what you said in case I didn't respond directly to it. If McNaughty receives a cut, most people say from the total fund, right? Some people say just from the driver's pool, so don't take from the other staff. From the staff pool, some people say, which I think is a little less viable, but don't support him getting a cut. Overall, fund or staff pool. I'm not sure. I don't care. Reduce each payout pool by 1.5% to get to, whatever that percentage is, right? So 1.5 out of each of these, then it would be 4.5% that I'd be getting. Yeah, so I don't know. We'll see how the math works, but it does seem like there's support for me taking a cut, and it does seem like there's support from taking it from somewhere. I'm interested to see, those who don't support me getting a cut, like why those are, and that's what I mean when I say like I will go through each one of the responses and see what they said about specific things. Again, I don't know who anybody is, right? But like I'll see if there's like a common theme, right? So like if someone who doesn't support me having a cut is the same person who has strong opinions about things that necessarily I don't see eye to eye with, like maybe there's something to say about that, right? Or maybe that's the person here who said they were dissatisfied, right? So if somebody's like emotionally charged and doing this and they're like, okay, well, we're just gonna try to tank the results here, then maybe I don't treat it as seriously as I might have otherwise. But maybe not. Maybe there's some merit, right? So okay, so who do you think has Roger, thank you for the 35 months, dude. So let's see. What do you think is the fairest payout priority? Driver pool, right? First. Hosts, right? So like it's who should get the most money. This is what this is asking. So drivers, hosts should get the next most money. Third place, it was the production and testers. So that's like myself, and this last season, myself, right? So I was the only tester for season 7. Some people say that host should be third. Some people say the steward should be third. Fourth was split between the production and testers. Again, production and testers, myself, Sal, Croatian, right? And Big Joe, I should say. I should correct my statement from before, right? Because it doesn't mean just the streaming, it's everyone behind the scenes. So let me correct myself there. Apologies. It's myself, Croatian, Sal, Big Joe from this past season. Stewards are there, and then what did I put here? League organization, right? Which is effectively just me, I think. I gotta go look back at my notes. But yeah, overwhelmingly, everyone who said the fairest priority should be the drivers, right? And I agree with that. Should the NRL entry fee increase for season A? Okay, so some people are not sure. Some people say no, keep it the same. If I win $1, I can claim I'm a professional sim racer. Even though 10 is not a lot, it might prevent people from joining. Small increase, moderate increase, yes, larger increase if it improves payout production. So again, we'll have to go through side by side and just get the details from that, because I think that a concern of mine is diluting the prize pool based on me taking a cut, right? But if I'm being honest, like I think having done this for 7 seasons, it might be time for a change just because of the amount of hours that have kind of gone into this, right? I'm not sitting here trying to pat myself on the back, but like there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes. So like, we gotta figure it out. I know there are some people that were a lot more boisterous about willing to pay more just because of what they're seeing in comparison to other leagues, but I don't know, we'll see. What entry fee would you be comfortable with? 30% said $20. 30% say $15. 35% say $10. One person said $25. So it seems like more people are okay with paying more. Some more than others. So I don't know. We'll see. Tiered approach, $15 entry, then you get 5 back if you make Division B and 10 back if you make Division C. I don't know. Maybe we try something like that. Yeah, honestly, money is not high enough to be motivated by money. It's a nice little thing, but NRL isn't about money. I mean, that's true. But I gotta say, right? I think that at a minimum, like, because I'm asking a lot of staff to do a lot of things, right? And put in a lot of hours to make this what it is. And I think that outside of myself, for them, like, I can't push them to be as diligent as they can be without saying like, hey, listen, like you're getting compensated for this. We're not just doing it for the love of the game. Like this is kind of like a responsibility that we have now to the community, because all the drivers who sign up, right? They know, or at least I hope they know, that this money, yes, it's going to a prize pool for them, but it's going to a staff that makes the event that they can participate in fun and watchable in the way that it is, right? So yeah, so I don't know. Let's see here. Free the entry fee change. Should MVP tier membership change the entry barrier? So okay, so yeah, right now you get you would have to pay $10 to enter NRL. If you're an MVP tier member, you only have to pay the $5 for the membership, right? And I should mention that with YouTube, I'm pretty sure for $5 that you pay to YouTube for MVP tier membership, $3 goes to me, right? And that's the case for like anybody on YouTube who has like a membership program. 60% I think goes to the creator, and then 40% I think goes to YouTube. So, but the prize pool increases by that full $5. So for everyone who has like a MVP tiered membership to this channel and uses it to sign up, I am personally subsidizing that 40% that YouTube keeps, right? And then on top of that, but the caveat with that is that, if you're an MVP tier member and you use that to sign up for NRL and you don't make it, you don't get that membership money back, right? That's the risk reward of it, right? But if you do pony up the $10 and you don't make it, you get the $10 back. So I'm just trying to be like fully transparent on that. Like, a lot is being subsidized by me. That is being subsidized by me, and any transfer fees in PayPal also being subsidized by me. So when I pay somebody who's in a different country than me, I pay money out of my pocket to make sure that transfer goes through. So like $5, $3, $1, depending on how much the payout is, right? And I'm not saying this to, complain or anything. I'm just putting the information out there as to what motivated me to ask even for such a thing. Now, to be fair, there have been circumstances in the past where people have decided to leave their payouts behind and donate it to the staff. And in one particular case, they decided to leave it to me personally. So like, it, and then on top of that, there's also the Discord Nitro fee, and just there are things that happen that get subsidized too. And I don't take all of that out because I don't want to, dilute it anymore, right? Which is why I was like, okay, well, maybe if we increase the fee, then we take some of that stuff out to pay for these tools and all this stuff that we use in the background. Okay, so for this, okay, people want $5 off the entry, whatever it is, right? Set percentage off the entry fee. Don't know how it works, depending on how long you've been a member. Oh, well, that's an interesting take that I haven't considered yet. And then 5 people want free entry, which, I mean, if so, let's say like we did increase it to $15, and then someone is MVP tier member and they want their $5 MVP tier membership to get them a free entry fee if the price goes up to $15, right? Which if I was just going like, okay, what's the average of all this stuff? We increase it to $15. And then MVP tier membership, which costs $5, of which I only received $3, pays for a $15 membership, right? So I don't know. I don't know if that entirely makes sense. Okay, bigger driver payouts, which would, that would be acceptable, right? Right now the driver payouts, I think it's like 75% of the money goes to the driver payouts. So the higher the entry fee, the more the drivers would get. Better broadcasts, I guess it depends on in which sense. Stewarding support, more testing support. Okay, that's great. Better website and Discord features. I'm curious to say what this person is looking for in terms of Discord and operations and better website stuff. I mean, we're always improving the website, like I mentioned at the beginning of the stream. So that I'll be interested to see in what this person had to say about, in this section. Some people don't support the higher entry fee. Better prizes or trophies. Interesting. Okay. Okay. And then one person at the end, they're like, I'm tired of filling this out. Okay. Okay. Any other thoughts? Yeah, there's concerns about raising the entry fee, but not too much. Wouldn't want to see drivers getting into any incidents. Yes. Payback cancellation for rage quit was a good idea, and don't see. Well, I mean, that's the thing. Like, right? Like, I think especially for the final, right? Like, we knew that this is the case for the final. It's been the case for the final for a couple seasons, right? Like, if you just don't show up, or you decide to stop racing, well, then you're not actually doing the race, are you? Right? So, let's see here. You do see constant engagement from drivers in smaller leagues where the entry fees were $20 to $30, even if they are completely off pace compared to the front. Interesting. Okay, I didn't even know. Like, I didn't know how many leagues are out there like that pay, that make people pay. This person thinks I should get a cut. If Division C is formed, I voted to have no prizes in Division C. If they get no prizes, I think they should have no entry fee or at least a due entry fee. Right. That's the kind of, that's also part of like the consideration here, right? Like, yes, you wouldn't be getting a prize for Division C, right? But like, we're the staff is also working to set you up in a league, right? So like part of like what you're paying for is a prize. Part of what you're paying for is the organizational effort to provide something to you to race in, right? So like, I think yeah. So I don't know. It's interesting. Okay, so point system should NRL. Okay, a lot of maybes, a lot of yeses. 20% say no, and one person says not sure. Some people say keep it the same, use a more linear point system. This is what I was talking about before, right? I was like, I think I can't say reduce it to, you know, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, right? Because then that dilutes winning, right? Winning means pretty much nothing if you do it that way. But also in the way that it's currently constructed, right? There's a lot of favoritism to a winner, to the point where if you win a race, you don't even have to show up for the rest and you'll make the final, right? So we got to strike some kind of difference. So like I mentioned before, raising the floor is kind of what I had in mind when I had this question. It looks like linear point system and not sure is there. Some people want to keep the same. This is kind of like what I was eyeing, right? Make the rest of the positions closer, right? And then giving points to more than 10 finishers. That's also something that we can do. And then giving points to every finisher. Right? I don't know. I don't know about this one, but we'll see. Winston Cup series, I'll have to do research on that. Yeah. So with 14 drivers, this person thinks it's fair and reasonable. Yeah. I think the general sense is that, yeah, we're going to have to change it, right? And make points is closer, right? But yeah, someone is like, oh, they don't understand how someone dominates with over 100 points in the season and doesn't still get a champion. Well, this is how NRL was constructed from the get-go, from the very beginning, season 1, where the final race is winner take all, right? If we were to say, right, let's say Sheldologist, who unfortunately disconnected in the Division B final, right? If we said, okay, well, he's the champion with one race left to go, right? If let's say he had it cleared, but then he disconnects in the last race, like, I mean, in other series, in real life, like he still might have been the champion, but like then also you're watching the final in a manner that we have to kind of change the entire setup of the broadcast and the and the feel, right? Because like we always interview podium finishers, right? Now we have to like do an active calculation as the race is going on to say, okay, well, if Sheldologist finishes in the top 5, then he wins the championship, and then change the interview structure for that, right? But yeah, I mean, I originally started NRL and said, okay, the final is like winner take all, right? And I think that creates drama and is unique. So I'm not saying that I would never change it, but like I'm not as apt to say, okay, go ahead and overhaul this. Answer this on page 1. Again, I don't know who this is, so this is why I have to break out the responses one by one. How would you rate the car track conversations? Most people liked it. Some people didn't. All right, sure. A lot of spread out. This is what I like to see. Different races. And then least favorite. It looks like most people hated the Division B final. Followed by the round where the VR wasn't working properly. So that's on me. Like I already know the problem with that. Like and as soon as it happened and as soon as it was released, I was like, oh crap, I didn't check to make sure that it was VR capable. So that makes sense. Yeah, some people didn't like the mines. Some people didn't like the Audi because there's no engine sound. So like these are things that I was like thinking about anyway. How would you rate the race length of the regular season? So 5 is perfect. This side is too short. This side is too long, I believe. And most people thought it was perfect or too short, right? Which kind of jives with what people were saying before. Same thing here, except I guess one person thought it was too long. Most people were right around in the middle, so also kind of makes sense, right? So like seeing this, like if I was to just go based off of this, the length of regular season rounds would be maybe increase it by like 5 minutes or something. And then if I looked at this just on merit, I wouldn't change the length of the finals. What kind of race combinations would people would want to see more of? Most people want to see race cars outside of Group 3, Group 4. More unnatural, unusual, underrated tracks. Some more road cars. It's just interesting because like so a lot of people want to see more road cars. A lot of people don't want to see road cars. So it's like kind of like, no matter what I do, it's gonna be kind of crazy. And then funny enough, like some people were like, I want to see more fuel strategy races. Some people want to see lower tire and sprint style races. Some people want to see higher strategy races. Like, I put this out here just to see if there's like any obvious outliers, and it seems like the true outlier here is less Group 3 and Group 4. So, so let's see. Okay, hard to engineer a race that has very open strategy to it, but nice to see some way to have more than one dominant strategy every race. Well, the thing is, like, there could be more than one strategy, right? In a particular race, right? But if everyone comes to an agreement on what the best strategy is, right? And that information is like shared, right? Then I can't stop everyone from using the same thing, right? Like, even if there were other ones that were viable, like it's kind of like, all right, if you find out that everybody's doing something different, like a no stop, right, and you're going to do a one stop, and you see everyone else is doing the no stop, you're probably just going to do the no stop because everybody else is doing it, right? So let's see. Regular season races fell too short. So okay, so we covered that, right? We covered that. Races fell short. Okay, yes. Too many races relied on tire saving or fuel saving. Races should be more 1x or close to it to allow drivers to go all out. Well, okay, that's a daily race, right? Oh, not necessarily, because daily races even have few tire and fuel multipliers now, right? This is just a time trial race, right? Which we could do something like that, I guess, but like I don't know if that's the reason why people were joining NRL anyway, right? Like I don't know, right? I think leagues do so much Group 3 and 4 races. I like the variety of this league. There weren't too many Group 3 or 4 races. Just like to see a little bit more of everything else, right? So, but then you'll see that there's feedback that is diametrically opposed to this particular comment, right? I've had people in seasons past like literally drop out of the league because they're like, oh, I thought it was going to be a Group 3 league, right? There are comments in this league that are like, oh man, these cars are ridiculous. Why are we using these cars? So like, I appreciate this comment. I know that there's a diametrically opposed comment somewhere. I think like the initial feedback I'm getting, right, is that races need to be longer. And I need to speed this up a little bit because I do have a couple of things to get to after this. And I don't have as much time. Now, yes, the fuel refuel rate is causing frustration because people want to drive all out. They don't want to worry about fuel saving. Well, yes, okay. Stewarding, somewhere between a 4 and a 5. How clear were the explanations? Most people thought they were clear. How fair? Most people thought it was fair. The speed of decisions. Yes, this is we got to figure something out here with the speed of decisions. I knew that this was going to be one of the more popular ones, right? Nothing major. That's good to see, right? Nobody had an issue with the clarity of the explanations, right? Some people had, one person had an issue with the appeal process. One person had an incident submission process issue. And then one person had a communication. So like, I'll look at those individually and see, but like, yeah, the speed of the decisions, like, especially after the final, I mean, it did take a while. Right. And then I held it up payouts and all that kind of stuff, right? Yeah. Um, should NRL make changes to the appeal process? Most people said no. 3 people said yes. Some people said not sure. So for these who said yes, I'll probably single those out and see what their issue was about it. Precedences were consistent once first made, but almost see like bending interpretations on some first time issues. No read feedback, post notice due to a close situation. Okay, yeah, that's on me. So I gotta say that it's all. Yeah, there's a way. Basically what this is saying is like make sure that if somebody's under investigation, let them know that they are under investigation. Okay, that's fair enough. Um, Pass some decisions, small leaks. How can you fairly penalize some incidents or livery concerns? Uh, yeah, I gotta look into that more. Let everyone audit the screenshots. Who I don't know what this means by everyone, right? So the drivers post the screenshots in the channel or whatever, right? And the stewards all go through it, right? Like that the expectation is that they go through it. Usually one steward takes a lead, right? Sometimes I'll help, right? Just to get things moving along to that point before about like speed of stewarding results. So like things like that where it's like, okay, it's either in compliance or not in compliance, right? But I don't tell them like how to penalize, right? I just say like, okay, this is what I saw, and then have at it, right? Um, yeah, we got to figure out this, right? This requires, right? So we can add the other driver to the channel, but the reason why we've hesitated to do this from in the past is because people will open up tickets, right? And they will maybe not so much this season, but in the seasons past, they will go in and they'll say like, "Oh, this guy took me out intentionally. This guy did this and all this kind of stuff." And then if you go into that channel as the defendant, right, and then see that this other person posted this, then it becomes like this whole thing. And we've already seen incidents like boil over into like DMs and all kinds of stuff, right? So we're trying to avoid this. So I got to figure out a way. Maybe I open up another channel or figure out some way to get the other driver in there to get their point of view, right? I know IRO, like if you open up a ticket, you put your stuff out there, and then the other side goes in and puts a result, puts a thing in there, and then that's it. No other communication is allowed, right? Um, but I couldn't, so I don't know what the right answer is. And then that ruling came out, and they're like, I don't even want to get into it, but like I completely disagreed with it. Like, right. But it's neither here nor there. Like I just got to figure out something that works. Consistency about stewards, production, reporting. Some incidents are reviewed thoroughly and reported, while some of the same severity or more are not even noted. Well, okay. We don't have a camera on every car for every corner for every race. Okay. We just don't have the ability to do that, right? So some incidents happen and some instances are missed. I will say that we definitely missed some that were literally on the broadcast and we didn't take a look at them, right? Like I'm thinking like Kyoto, right? Kyoto, we should have been looking at that. And then we didn't. And that's on me to make sure that like obvious things should be on the stream, but like tickets come in from drivers, tickets come in from staff, right? Tickets come in from me if I see something, right? And they may come in from drivers that weren't even involved in the incident. So, we definitely got to improve about that. Commentary, mostly positive. Friday commentary, mostly positive. Slightly lower score than the Saturday commentary. Graphics were there. I'm interested to see what people had to say about that. More highlights and recaps. Oh, God, I know it's tough. More strategy discussion. Yeah, that's fair point. Pre-race driver interviews. So we did do some, interviews in the pre-qualifying round. But I think like you got to balance like having pre-race interviews with actually getting to the racing, right? Because sometimes the interviews will go on for a long time, right? And people will be like, well, when are you getting to the race, right? So like we're trying to streamline that so that we can get to the racing as fast as we can, while also respecting the sponsors, and making sure that the viewing audience is like informed of like what the race is going to be and all that kind of stuff. Want to see people on live camera. Broadcasters should be discussing more of the storyline, standings, and who needs to do what in the upcoming races. Yeah, that's a fair point. Okay, certain broadcasters. Okay, yeah, I mean, listen, there are some fair points there. Seems like in both divisions, it's the same 3 or 4 people who get interviewed every race, as there is definitely a skill gap between the front runners and everyone else in both divisions. Oh, I don't know if it's a skill gap, right? I'll be honest with you. Like, I'm thinking of like an example here where like, okay, Division B on Friday, right? Prod Captain Slow is the name that comes to mind, right? He was obviously quick in every car, made the wrong strategy in almost every round. So like he never really got to the podium, right? Despite having the outright pace, right? So like, it's not necessarily a skill gap. It's like it's more of a studying gap, right? And practice gap, right? Right, to you, the driver who qualifies pole, leads all the laps, and finishes first is not the most exciting one to watch or talk with. However, they're the one who won, right? So maybe for a pre-race thing, we choose someone who's projected to be towards the back, but like, I'm not gonna say no, the winner can't be interviewed. Saturday crew seemed more prepared throughout the season than the Friday crew. Okay, fair. Adding more cameras for commentator, like PGA World Series, meaning like face cam and all that kind of stuff. NRL is the gold standard. Great. Okay. Sorry, I'm going to speed run the rest of this. I didn't think I was going to spend so much time here, but the website, okay, generally good feedback, less than 4.5 average. So gosh, I got to fix it. Sign up process, most people are okay with it. Discord organization, not as high as I wanted it to be. Rate league communication, I'm interested to see what was up with the 3, but I thought like it was as good as it gets. Most people said nothing major. Yeah. I'm just seeing that now in chat. Yeah, maybe it could be a separate like pre-broadcast. Kind of like how like NBA has like the tip-off show, right? So maybe it could be something like that. During sign up, you register to be part of a team, but was shown to be a free agent on broadcast. Not a big issue. Okay. Well, yeah, technical glitches happen sometime. I think like if stuff is like not working properly, right? And you can't get it to work, right? Like you can just say, hey, I can't get this to work. You can voice that you're having an issue, or set at me, or send some kind of message to the producers and whatnot, can take a look at that, right? So like it's not like a league where you can't talk to us. Lobby ID and other time sensitive amounts that shouldn't be in the Discord's race chat channel. We wrongly. Okay, that's fair. Yeah, we can make that adjustment. Website appears to be very data driven. Would be nice to see driver pages and point standings in a way that's more geared towards the fans. I'm interested in like an elaboration on this, right? In a way that's more geared toward the fans. I don't know what that means. Like, I as a fan like to see the data, right? But I don't know. We can make it more like social media, I guess. Sometimes the steward's explanations can be a little cluttered when more than one incident is tried to be laid out in the same post. Okay, so then we can fix that. Clear the rules, pretty clear. Was it understand it strictness? Most people are Okay, some people thought it was too strict. Speed run through this. Okay. And the final feedback. What is one thing NRL should keep doing? Okay, some good stuff. Open wet strategy, wet mixed surface racing. Okay, all right. We'll run through this. The fact that A+ drivers can race in Division B is completely unfair. Listen, sometimes it happens, man. And yeah, I will. I'm very interested to see who's interested in combo testing. Right, you can't be a driver, but like I definitely need help with that. So, yeah. So that's gonna be the end of this. Sorry I had to rush through, but I had a conflict at 1:30 that I had to get to. But yeah, all the chat messages in here, they won't be lost, right? I'll look through these chat messages as well. Because I know I didn't respond to everything that you guys said in chat. I was more so going through this, and then these responses I'll break out into individual responses to see where someone, one particular person's head is at when they're going through this. Some things are going to change, some things aren't. That's kind of just the way it goes, and I it's not possible to make everyone happy all the time, right? But if there's like clear directions that everyone wants to go in, then we'll go in those directions. So yeah, definitely go check out Upshift Media, and if you haven't hit the like button and subscribe to this channel, if you're new here by some chance, go ahead and do that as well. But I gotta run, guys. I'll see you guys later. Peace.